Hello, hello, hello. I have no idea how that picture got behind my head, y'all.
What's it a picture of?
Do you see this background behind me here?
You got a great big old sun.
Yeah, I don't even know how that got on. Well, I'm sorry, everybody. We are finally here. I have no idea how I did that. And that's just bothering me real bad. Sorry.
Looks like a picture from up there on the mountain.
It is. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth, if you've not been here before. This is Sweet Tater, my little mommy. And this is Hillbilly Crime. I'd say most of our viewers are return viewers. So most of you guys, I think, know the situation here in Letcher County. We're going to look at a couple things before we jump in, because I know you guys are looking at the title like, ho ho ho. Oh yeah. All right. I've got a few things written down too. Just to make sure that I say things correctly. All right. So first off, I am going to kind of do a little recap on the context of this, because it's very, I think it's very important that we understand the context. All right. So we're going to watch this first. And this is going to kind of get us up to speed, get everybody on the same page.
Please be fair to me, boys. Now, come on now.
I'll tell you more of what Mickey Stines said after police said he shot and killed a judge. This is a law and crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic, charged with murdering his one-time boss and one-time friend, Judge Kevin Mullins? You're going to hear from Mickey Stines after the shooting here in a bit, and some of what he says is frankly a little confusing. The crime is shocking for many reasons. First, it's a county sheriff accused of killing a judge who was his friend and former boss. And the shooting was recorded by a surveillance camera in Judge Mullins' chambers in Letcher County, Kentucky. We've seen it, and it's startling. It's unbelievable. This case is definitely not a whodunit, far from it. It's more of a why did he do it? A lot of people would like to know the answer to that question. Kentucky State Police investigators, Mickey Stines' lawyers, Judge Mullins' family, and the list goes on. That day, Mullins and Stines had lunch together. It was something they had done often. And by all accounts, there was no tension. Then around 3 p.m., Stines and Mullins met in Mullins' chambers. The meeting was recorded by a surveillance camera. A detective explained what happened at a preliminary hearing last year.
I was told that Sheriff Stines had tried to call his daughter, and he had tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
Then, for reasons that remain a mystery, Stines shot Judge Mullins.
I wasn't present, but when he was taken into custody, I was told by one of the other officers that were there that he made the comment, they're trying to kidnap my wife and kid.
Now we're hearing the 911 call and seeing the aftermath of what happened.
I got emergency at the courthouse. I need ambulance here right now at district courtroom.
Which courthouse?
Court, Letcher County.
And what's going on?
Judge has been shot.
The judge?
Yes.
What's his name?
Kevin Mullins.
Go ahead.
Where you not?
Shots fired at the Letcher County Courthouse and somebody shot Judge Mullins.
Sure can.
All right. Now, just to recap on this police officer starts laughing at this. which is very, very strange. You just don't usually hear a police officer react this way. So this is just number one that I find very odd.
Somebody shot Judge Mullins. No, sir. Just come out on the radio.
Troopers race to the scene. It's not a call that you often get. A judge shot at a courthouse. When troopers arrived, they began separating witnesses.
Well, I told him to put them in separate rooms so they don't talk to each other, too. Yeah. Have you got the witnesses? No. They're doing the witnesses. Who's doing the witnesses? Justin and a couple other people are walking the witnesses right down through there.
And the work of securing the crime scene began.
I think he's hitting that other one.
They still got the AM-15 in the foyer of the courthouse. There's also some witnesses in the judge's office, not far from where he's at. You want to go ahead and take him down to the jail so we can get the rest of the witnesses out of the judge's office.
Well, we got a lot going on right now.
I didn't realize you talked to
That it is, brother.
At 3:40 p.m., a couple of women who appear to be distraught, possibly family members of Judge Mullins, show up at the courthouse. A trooper holds one of them back. One woman is trying to get into the courthouse, but the trooper will not let her pass the steps. After 4 p.m. that day, dash cameras show officers leading Mickey Stines out of the courthouse in handcuffs to a waiting cruiser. And then you hear his voice talking with the troopers.
Make sure there ain't no weapons or nothing now.
There ain't nothing in there, bro.
Yeah. Come on now. Right here, open up the back hatch. Come on. No, now come on.
You heard Stines tell the troopers to make sure there weren't any weapons in the back of the cruiser, and he talks then a little more.
Y'all gonna leave me in here and let me die of heat exhaustion? No, I can't get up in there. Come on now. Come on. I can't. Yeah, man. I can't get in. These cuffs are way too tight. Come on now, guys. Come on now.
Stines definitely sounds a little paranoid.
You may pick your leg up, my brother.
Y'all got carbon monoxide in here. Oh, come on now. Come on. I can't sit like this. I can't. Come on now. Be fair to me.
We're being good to you, brother. You stick your leg up in there.
Come on now, guys. Please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. Please.
You want to scoot on over a little bit to the left?
Come on now.
Try to scoot on over a little bit more. That way we don't hit you. Can you go a little bit farther? I just want to hit you with the door. Put your knee in there, my friend.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Bates. Hey, Bates. Can we loosen this up a little or give the window down? I'm sorry. Can we loosen this up a little? Be fair to me, man. I got some air. I'll crack the window for you, but I can turn the air on back here. Okay? Yeah. Be fair to me now. I promise, Mickey. I promise. God, please. I promise. I'll tell you. It's hot back here, man. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
The drive to the Leslie County Jail from Letcher County takes about an hour, give or take a few minutes. Stines continues to speak as if he's in fear.
Come on now, guys. Make sure I get to the jail.
At times, it's hard to hear the troopers in the cruiser, but they try to talk to Mickey Stines on the long drive to the jail.
Come on now, guys.
I was asking why you done it. Was it over your family?
Come on now, guys. What are you doing?
I'm just talking to you. I'm just asking, was it something to do with your family or anything like that?
The trooper, after several minutes, tries to ask Stines some more questions.
Was it something to do with your family? Something happened.
Now, I'm going to point something else out here. Many of us have noticed that the police, the state police, are the ones who are driving him to Leslie County Jail. And they're the ones that keep asking him, was this about your family? Now, we have heard through the testimony of that detective there that we just saw in front of the dash cam. He said that Mickey had it was reported that Mickey had made the statement, they're trying to kidnap my wife and kid. Now, a lot of people thought this was all paranoid. It was paranoid behavior. It was paranoid acting. He had been acting very strange for weeks, if not days, leading up to the courthouse chaos that day. All right, so let's get back to it.
Because if something did happen, you know, I mean, it'd be good to let us know. Why did you want to talk to your daughter while ago? If something did happen that, you know, involved something, they could help you when you go to trial and get a fair trial. Let us know kind of what's going on, what led to this.
At one point, Sheriff Stines asks whether the troopers are actually taking him to a national forest. He doesn't believe the troopers are taking him to the right place. They tell him there is a national forest near the jail.
Maybe we're almost to the jail. I'll ask one last time. Is there anything you want? Is this anything to do with your family? Maybe that's some information that we need to know. And what the information comes out, that always can change how investigations are worked. You know what I mean? And how they're looked at. You know that.
I was getting ready to say, he said, you know that. Yeah, Mickey knows all that. And I think it's very important to point out that Letcher County and Leslie County are not very far from each other. How far do you think that jail is from here, Mom? I forget what it was.
They said about an hour, but that seemed long to me. I didn't look and see where Leslie County is. Is that where Hindman is?
Yeah. Yeah. The jail's
Well, I
up
don't
through there.
know.
But
Well,
they
Whitesburg-
have. Go ahead, honey.
Well, from Whitesburg, you got to go to Hazard, and then you got to go some more. So
Right,
it is
right.
probably nearly an hour. And there are lots of forests around there and lots of different ways you could get to Hindman. So, you know, they may
Yeah.
not have been taking the route that Mickey would have taken.
Yeah. Well, I heard that there were 2 ways to get there, but regardless, they have driven that drive. You know they have. They've transferred inmates to that jail several times. They've taken inmates to treatment facilities. I don't know if there's one over that way in Leslie County, but he's lived here all his life. He has been that, and he's been in the court system for a really long time, been a sheriff for several years. I feel confident that he knew the way there. I just think that he thought that they were going to pass him off. Now, we originally thought there was a whole lot of just paranoid behavior, but then when all the depositions came out and more of this video came out, you know, more people started telling their own stories. There's a whole host of people who get on TikTok and tell their stories that they've went through. I'm not really sure why some of this stuff hadn't been. I just feel like if there had really been some investigating into some of this stuff, they would have found it. It's not that hard to find once you know what you're looking for. All right. Anyway, let's get back to this. I'm going to explain some things.
Like I said, something led to this.
Come on now, guys. Guys, no guys.
To the jail. Got this in jail seat right there.
This is not the jail.
Yeah.
This is not the jail now. This is not the jail.
The officers continue to drive, and they assure Mickey Stines they are taking him to the Leslie County Jail.
Okay, Mickey. Anyway, so do you want to talk about it? Is this to do with anything with your family, your daughter, or anything? Bring one in.
He never says a word about that.
Okay. Do they have to back out to get out, or does that circle out? Does it circle out, or do they get out? Okay. So,
Who you passing me off to?
Leslie County. We've talked about this. This is Leslie County Jail.
Who you passing me off to, though?
No, nobody. He knows the way here. We didn't know the way.
Oh, yeah. Y'all are passing me off here now to somebody.
Mickey, I don't know why you think this.
Y'all are going to let somebody hurt me. Yeah. Come on now, guys. Be fair. Yeah. Don't pass me off to nobody.
The only people we're passing you off to is the jailers inside here.
Okay.
That's the jailers.
So let me make a correction. Mommy, they said it's in Hyden, not Hindman. Hindman is in Knott County. Hyden,
I'm sorry, that's what
Hyden.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Because, you know, the exit, Hyden's exit, that's where they had the bluegrass school there. And
Okay.
But
Okay,
it's
so he
now.
may not. So he may that's a little bit further than what I was thinking, because I was thinking Hindman in Knott County. That's the one I was thinking of. So that's good to clarify that. I'm kind of looking at this in a whole new light. Some of this stuff that I have found out just today, you guys. Some of this stuff is getting nasty. So, well, let me let you finish this.
They said there's somebody in there that they got to clear out.
Yeah, come on now, guys.
One last time, the trooper tries to get Stines to tell him whether the shooting had anything to do with his family.
Is this anything to do with your family? I think that's some information that would be nice to be out there so we knew what exactly led to this.
Don't put me in that Leslie County van.
Stines is pulled out of the cruiser and taken into the jail to be booked. Stines' lawyers released the following statement.
Did you guys hear that at the very end of that? I hadn't noticed that he said that before. Did you hear that, Mom?
I couldn't
He
tell
said, don't
what he
put
said.
me in that Leslie County van. He said, don't
Oh.
put me in that Leslie County van. So he
Oh.
didn't think that, well, I mean, that's the context that he said it in. So, you know, we have to take that into consideration. He must have thought that they were going to put him and transport him, because he kept saying, who are you passing me off to? Who are you passing me off to? Now, I want to make an observation and point out something else too. So, one of the things that we found out in the deposition, Mickey's deposition, he says that when he got the call from the reporter on the phone asking him to, I guess, to comment on the civil lawsuit that was filed against Ben Fields, his deputy, him, because they named him, and the ankle monitor company, Mickey said that that was how he found out about the lawsuit. He didn't know it had been filed until that reporter called him. And he said, I don't know how quick he got all of his information together, but he says that he called the KSP, the Kentucky State Police, and he asked them, I don't know if he called or emailed or whatever, but he contacted them in some way, shape, or form and asked them to come in and investigate the accusations that were being made against one of his deputies. And he says in that deposition that the state police declined to investigate his deputy because they were too close. They worked too close with him. So they did not feel comfortable performing that investigation, I guess. Allegedly, I guess I should say. And so the investigation ended up, a request was put in, and this was all in the public records. A request was put in by an attorney, I guess, representing the women. And they asked the Kentucky Attorney General's office to investigate these claims. That is how it is written in the reports, that they then contacted each of these people. It says in the detective's report, written report, he contacted Edison Banks. He contacted the jailer. He contacted Bert Sloan. He contacted all of these people. And really nobody, and it sounded to me like they all kept saying, oh, well, you need to go talk to this guy because I think they've got some information for you. And he'd be like, okay. And then he'd go talk to them and they'd be like, oh, yeah. What, you need to go talk to this guy because they've got some information for you. And so then he goes to this person and it just kind of seemed like they just kept passing the buck with this information. At least that's how I perceived that. Anyway, once Ben once Ben had pled to these charges that they charged him with, it doesn't look to me like there's been any real investigation done into the higher ups that was mentioned in Sabrina's proffer interview. And it was put in that report in the public records that that detective had contacted that boy that apparently had the videos. He denied having them, said he had an audio tape, I think is what he said. But he wasn't interested really in turning it over and letting them have it. And so it looks to me like they kind of just dropped the investigation right there. As long as they had been pleading guilty to these charges, that was enough. You know, that was the sacrificial lamb. Well, then when this civil lawsuit hit, and here's Mickey caught in the middle of it. And this has not just been going on. Like, this didn't just happen the last few months. Remember, Ben was charged with that stuff, what, in 2022 or something? I don't remember what the dates were. But so they've been dealing with this for, a little while anyway.
Meant to me It says the recently released footage affirms our belief that our client felt there was an imminent threat to his family and himself. There was an extreme amount of pressure placed upon him as a result of the pending civil case and its potential to reveal matters within the courthouse. The footage shows that our client perceived a genuine threat, and its impact upon his mental health is apparent. Following Stines' arrest, we found out that he had been deposed in a civil lawsuit in the days leading up to the shooting. A woman named Sabrina Adkins sued the sheriff's office, claiming a deputy named Ben Fields had sex with her while she was on home incarceration. Adkins was arrested in 2021 on a drug charge. Adkins claims that she couldn't afford to pay for an ankle bracelet and was afraid to go back to jail. So Fields, who was supervising her on home incarceration, offered to help her in exchange for sex. Adkins said she and Fields had sex in Judge Mullins' chambers 6 times. Fields eventually was charged criminally and served 6 months in jail. He is supposed to be on probation for 6.5 years. We don't know whether this played a role in the shooting, but there have been questions about whether it may have, and here's why. In 2022, investigators with the Kentucky Attorney General's office interviewed Sabrina Adkins, and she claimed to have seen tapes of Judge Mullins having sex with a woman in his chambers.
But he does have some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers.
What kind of stuff?
Just with girls' sexual and stuff.
What describe? Have you seen the video?
I've seen one partly, and just him having sex with girls for their bail to get out of jail.
Who was having sex?
Ben and just some higher ups up there.
Who?
The judge and.
You saw the video.
Yeah.
What did you see on the video? I mean, you.
I mean, I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who was the girl?
I don't know, because I don't know a lot of people from over there.
Where was it at?
In his office, in the judge's chambers.
Is that the same place that you were meeting Ben? Is that how you know it was a judge in chambers?
Yeah.
And this was Judge who?
Mullins.
But you don't know who the girl was?
We obtained that audio in a records request from the Kentucky AG's office. News Nation actually was the first to report on the audio.
But you saw the judge?
Right.
Do you know for sure that was the judge?
Yes.
I mean, how do you know that's the judge?
I've been in front of him. His face is pretty clear on there.
Mickey Stines has pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. His attorneys have suggested he was suffering from an extreme emotional disturbance at the time of the crime, and they've suggested the shooting may have been manslaughter.
Okay. Now, right after, here, I want to show you this first before we go look at this other one, because we're going to do it we're going to try and do it in order. So that way we have a better context of how this all progressed that day. All right, let me pull this up real fast. And we're going to I'm just going to pull it up from our show that we did the other night. Let's see. We just want that video. Now, his lawyer came out. One of the last interviews that he did was Mickey's lawyer came out when they asked him about the paranoid behavior. He said that wasn't paranoid. The way that I took what he said was that wasn't, really paranoid behavior. He had every right to fear for his life. He said something to the effect that Mickey was in a very unique or special, I forget the word that he used, but it was something like that, position because of a lot of bad things that were going on down there. He was afraid that he was going to say the wrong thing, or he was afraid that he already had said the wrong thing. And I caught that. Well, he just had given that deposition 3 days before that, right? He hadn't been sleeping. From the way that I was told, the several sources that I've spoke to, he had not slept since before that deposition. He was walking the floors. He was just pacing, nervous. He was acting funny. What if Mickey was starting to put some things together that he hadn't really been too knowledgeable about before? I don't know. I'm just speculating, of course, just like everybody else. But with the totality of all of this information, it is absolutely just mind-blowing. Now, one of the things that everybody's kind of freaked out about with all of these videos is the smoking in the chambers. People are really having a hard time with the smoking in the chambers. All right, and I'm going to mute this because we don't need to hear me talking in it. Let's see. We're going to share this one. Now, this was that new video footage. Let me see if I can get us in there closer. Oh, hang on. Let me stop sharing that and redo it because sometimes the audio doesn't catch with it when I do it that way. All right. I think I need to change the batteries in my mouse. All right. So this is the video. It's not really good at all, you guys. I'm sorry. But this was what the Court TV got all of this. Let's see. There it goes. Now see, there goes Mickey. There comes Mickey down the steps there. This is after the pew-pew happened. If you get one of the gifted memberships, make sure you tell her thank you. Thank you, guys. Mommy, you need to turn that off or exit out of it or something. It's causing some problems with our stream. You got something on your computer?
No, it was my phone. And I was just scrolling through stuff.
Okay. Well, here, maybe I've got it stopped there. Here we go. This is earlier, or it was. I guess I need to go back. I'm sorry.
I'll go over there and try to watch some TV in a little bit. I gotta get me something to eat.
All right. There he comes. Yay, it got rid of that big background behind me. Oh, no, it didn't either. That's on the show. I'm silly. And look, you guys, there were just 8 pew-pews that took place in there. They still haven't found who it is, and all these people are just sitting out on the front of the courthouse like, hey, y'all, how you doing? I mean, it wasn't like one lone pew-pew went off. That judge had 8 holes in him. I mean, and people just going right on. Like, here you see a couple running here at the beginning. And there's Mickey. And here he comes. And all them people are still standing out in front of the courthouse. Look, and all them cops are running in there, but you don't see them telling the people to move. You don't see anybody trying to get anybody to safety. You know, I mean, they're acting like this has been an accidental discharge or something. Unbelievable. Now, I want to get back to them in the courtroom, or I mean, in the judge's chambers. Here we got Vinny's video right here. All right. Now, you see it, Mommy?
I see it.
Okay. So let's see. We're going to come down here. Now, I'm not going to stop it. I'm just going to let it play. And I'm going to tell you guys, because we got a little time here. So the judge is sitting there. Then you got Tweety Bird, the preacher man, Michael Clark, in the window. Michael Clark is the community liaison for ARC. Now, ARC is the rehab center that is being investigated by the FBI for Medicaid fraud.
They are a for-profit facility.
For-profit facility, absolutely. Okay, now this man that is sitting in the chair in the black shirt, his name is Tim Eisen, and he works for MCCC with the rehab services. So what I've been able to find out is he's apparently basically the same thing as Michael Clark is, only for a different facility, for a different company. But that's just the way that it's looking. They have, Mommy sent me the article the other day. They have, I reckon, I don't know who's purchased it, but MCHC and the treatment, the medical facility in Whitesburg, they have been the ones who have been treating the inmates at the jail. And they don't just treat them with medically assisted treatment now, which I think is a wonderful thing. That's what I wrote my thesis on for my master's degree. And it was what I was down there trying to talk to them about when they kept pushing me away, telling me didn't know what I was talking about. But so Jailer Bert Sloan recently put that into effect, and he's very proud of that he was the first jail in Kentucky who started allowing it. But it looks like they've done it all through this program, all through this drug program. Now, one of the things that I want to point out too is that in a lot of Ned Pillersdorf's interviews, he has said that he has been a lawyer, a defense attorney in Eastern Kentucky, for 40 years or however long. And that the demographics have drastically changed with arrests and defendants. That, he said, I've heard him say in several interviews that 40 years ago, you didn't see women being arrested for rug charges like he sees today. I think, just in my own observation, it looks to me like it might be predominantly women in this area. I'm not sure about that, but I mean, it sure does look that way.
It's who they're arresting. I don't think there's any more women on drugs around here than men.
No,
but it's who they're arresting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I kind of found out some more details on the Sabrina situation, the Sabrina and the Ben situation. Well, here. Now, watch right here. Let me stop this. Okay. So, if you were paying attention to that while we were yakking, Mickey sits there in that chair for that whole time. And it doesn't really look like he's engaging with anybody, really. I mean, he's talking, but, he's not dominating the conversation. It doesn't look to me like. But he sits there and he had his hands up on his head like that. And I said the other day that I thought he looked relaxed, but a couple people pointed out that they didn't think that he necessarily was looking relaxed. They thought he was looking like he didn't know what to do with his hands, like maybe he was fidgety, and stuff like that. We don't know. We can't read his mind. We're all speculating. But right here, it appears that Michael Clark says something and Mickey gets up in a what? Watch the body language. You guys watch the body language and tell me what you see, because I think it looks like Mickey's heard something he didn't like and he went to say something to Michael. And then it looks to me like the judge kind of like cackles, like, ha, whatever. So let's see. All right, there's Mickey. Then we're going to see him get up again. I'm sorry. Like he's just sitting there listening, taking it all in, listening to everybody's big war stories. Everybody hit that like button for me. 564 chatting and only 189. Do me a solid and hit that. Now, Mike Watts, that's Mike Watts Sr., that's our circuit court clerk. And from what I understand, Mike's not allowed to smoke, allegedly. His wife fusses at him for smoking. So, from what I was told, that was one of the things that, they would invite Mike down and he'd share a cigarette with them. And I kind of thought that when I first saw it. He looked like he was a kid in the bathroom at school smoking a cigarette, like he wasn't supposed to be really smoking it, but he was with the cool boys, so he was smoking him a cigarette. At least that's the way I kind of took it. Mike's a good dude. Mike's a good dude. Sheesh. They're just kind of showing him sitting there. See, everybody else is kind of BSing, and here he goes. Now watch him and Michael. Watch this little interaction here. Michael says something, and Mickey says something, and the judge smirks and starts. I think he looks like he's making fun of him. Making fun of maybe whatever Mickey had said. Which we're just speculating, of course. Oh, yeah. The judge comes off closer, comes off as closer in this video to Michael. Oh, yeah. Michael was his buddy. Michael Clark. we're getting ready to watch that video too, guys. So just stick with me. There's a method to the madness, y'all. There's no audio on these videos. So most judges do not have cameras in their chambers. Okay. And the only reason that they put this camera in the judge's chambers is because Ben Fields, this is the room that Ben Fields took Sabrina Adkins in, and she said she had sexual relations with him 6 times. Well, he also admitted to doing it with, I guess, with her. He admitted in his plea deal that he did it in the bathroom at the courthouse and that he did it in the elevator at the courthouse. Well, that just sickens me. And we also
sounds like a rabbit to me.
Well, we also found out that him and his wife were both working at the jail as employees when they met, and she was allegedly married to somebody else and had a whole family, and and them two hooked up at work. And that's where I think he admits to having sexual relations while working at the jail in the polygraph. But she wasn't his wife at the time. I was having a hard time figuring out, because he said that it was after work. It was after they both got off work. Why would you do it at the courthouse after you got off work? Why wouldn't you just go on home? Well, it makes sense now. She was married to somebody else, allegedly. So that's how that goes. And we also have to remember that after Ben took that plea deal, the DOC, I guess the Department of Corrections, is the ones who apparently control this courthouse. And so they're the ones who came in and put the camera in the judge's chambers. Okay. Now, one of my friends used to work there, and she was a custodian for several years there. And it was right when Michael Clark started working there and was working in drug court and all this stuff. And about the smoking thing, she told me how they got away with the smoking. So the DOC would come in once a month to do like an inspection or some kind of a visit. Judge Mullins allegedly knew when they were coming, and so he would call down in the morning to the custodian girls and say, they're on their way. I need you to get down there, pick up all the ashtrays, clean them out, mop the floors, use all the bleach and stuff that you can. Allegedly, they also had a judge from Leslie County, of all places, the same jail, same county that Mickey's in their jail. And this judge, whenever he would come and be like fill in for somebody, now she didn't say if he was a district judge, which would have been Kevin's replacement, or a circuit court judge, which would have been Jimmy Kraft's fill in. But she said he hated cigarettes and he hated smoking. And so nobody could smoke in the courthouse as long as he was there on the bench, filling in for whoever he was filling in for. So that was a little bit of information that I got on the smoking thing. Kind of gives us a little bit more look at the kinds of things. I mean, these are small things, but rules are rules, and if you're a rule breaker, thank you, honey. If you're a rule breaker, and you're always trying to figure out how to get over or get through or get over a rule or whatever. It just kind of becomes you do it. If you do it for small things, it kind of increases.
It just becomes a way of life.
Yeah, just becomes a way of life.
It's easier to go along with the rules. You know what I'm saying? I've broke plenty of rules, but it's just easier to go along with them and do whatever, because then you don't have to worry about looking behind you.
It's easier to go along to get along. And remember, Mickey was not what you would call necessarily trained, right? He didn't have any real training. He got hired and he was trained on the job by people who were, the sheriff and the leaders at the time. And they really did him a disservice. It wasn't anything that he even knew. I don't think Mickey ever knew he wasn't maybe have the certain qualifications. I hate to say that because it looks like Mickey was really the only one that was trying to get some investigations going. How in the world is the Kentucky State Police not conflicted out of Mickey pew-pewing the judge when they decided they were themselves too conflicted to investigate Ben? That doesn't make a lick of sense. So you're not going to investigate that.
Somebody had to transport him, and there wasn't nobody else around to do it.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean they have to be in charge of the entire investigation into it.
No, they shouldn't have been into the investigation of the pew-pew. They should not have been doing it. Somebody else should have come in and done it.
I mean, look at this. But this ought to show us all, I've never seen a response on TV like this. I'm just saying, I'm sorry. I just don't. It just blows me away. And several people have said that they saw Michael Clark and his coworker there go running out of somebody said they thought they saw him run past a woman. But I haven't been able to see it yet. I see Mickey right there. An old Tweety Bird had a hat on that day. But, and you don't know, he had his hand on it. If you noticed right there, he looked like he had his hand on his pew-pew going down the sidewalk. And I was told by several different sources that he went looking for that lawyer, Dotson, before he went back over to the judge's chambers. Now, I don't know what he was looking for him for, but several different people who were there that day. And one of them was a family member of one of the KSP troopers. All right. So I think we were all kind of caught up on this new footage that came out. So there's Mickey still. And he just kind of looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't he? Like he just doesn't really know where to go. He was telling them women, he pointed down there, told them to go that way. I'm sure he was having somewhat of a panic attack. I'm sure he was. I agree with that. some other analysts have looked at that and or looked at this video and have said that they thought he was having a panic attack in the video where they transport him. Now, usually there's other things. If usually in arrests and stuff like that, there's other things that happen. Like they actually speak to them. You know, they at least try to speak to them. I don't know if they ever did or not. All right. Now this is the video that was put out right after the pew pew. Okay. This is
night and day since yesterday, you all. Wanted to get on here for a second. Been a real rough night and day since yesterday, you all. I'm sure I've known and seen nationwide now what all happened. Multiple news agencies continue to reach out to me. I'm not going to be able to comment to them or anything like that, but I have spoken to
the news reached out to him. He makes this whole video about him.
The sheriff's wife and daughter and talked to her a couple of times today. And, you know, you just really need to be praying and quit gossiping and spreading rumors, because you're going to be really surprised when absolutely nothing that you've been posting and saying is true or accurate. And I have permission from the family to say that. Mental illness is real. People go through hard things that we don't know what they're going through. Bottom line, one of my best, closest, dearest friends, Judge Mullins, was killed yesterday. And one of my best, closest friends, Sheriff Mickey Stines, is locked up and charged with murder.
Okay. I said this was a couple hours after the incident. I was wrong. It was the next day because he just said that. So I was wrong.
The motive and everything will come out, and everyone will eventually know why. And it's not going to be nothing, the reason that not you, but many are spreading and talking and hurting children. That the judge has a wife and children.
The judge, here's this children narrative again. How dare you say anything about these people because they have children? Well, we have children too. Those victims had children too.
Those women had children.
Yeah. And, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I'm not perfect, but I'm not trying to be a preacher. This is the preacher man, y'all. This is the man who was sitting in the windowsill in the new video that we saw with Vinny with Court TV. So he's the guy that was sitting in the window that just had that interaction back and forth with Mickey right before the pew pew happened. This is him.
Children that's hurting. The sheriff has a wife and a child who I've spoke to twice today who are truly hurting.
He makes it all about him.
I love you all. I love Letcher County. I'm there every day. I work there. I've got a church there. My heart is there. And what this community needs is prayers, kindness, and mercy. And if you do not know and don't have firsthand knowledge of something, why in the world would you get on there spreading lies and rumors? I don't get it. I don't get it. And you ought to be ashamed, because there's a little girl of the sheriff's that's devastated by these rumors. And there's also little girls who lost a father. And we need to think about that. Continue to pray for everyone that was involved. Thank God for the first responders that was there within minutes. Thank God for protecting me, who was with the sheriff all day yesterday, and the judge. Thank God, by the grace of God, that I'm alive. And just pray for our community for healing to come about. I love you all. God bless you all. And have a great day.
Now, he took this down after he posted it. He posted it, and I don't know how long went by, but he took it down, I think, the same day, within a few hours, because and I don't know why he took it down, but I can only assume that it was because he got so much backlash from it. There were a lot of girls who came out and said, people, it wasn't just girls, it was people that came out and said, you ain't no better, buddy, allegedly. Now, let me see let me go back through my notes because I have to make sure that I say everything correctly. All right. I got some clarification too on Sabrina and where she was staying at that boy's house, where Ben took her, but I can do that later. That's not really, we're kind of on a different thing right now. Okay, so this little nugget of information kind of came to me too. So right after this happened, our Letcher County our judge executive, Terry Adams, named one of Mickey's deputies, who was also a school resource officer, as the new sheriff. And from what a little bit of inside info that I got was that Judge Mullins allegedly had already picked out this new sheriff before Mickey ever even went for his deposition. The last time that I had went to the sheriff's department and actually spoke to Mickey myself, you say greetings, you're like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Whatever. And I asked him something, and he was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I ain't running again. I'm done. They can have this place, is what he said. Mommy said he said something very similar to her as well, that he was not running again. He was done. He was ready to retire and go live on the lake. They all apparently have places down on the lake in Tennessee, and they're all very geographically close to each other. It was told that 3 of these couples, 3 of the men who are in this big circle, and all 3 of their wives had just been to Tennessee at the lake and spent time there together a few weeks before this even happened. And I think that they've had their places down there for a very long time, different ones at different times, but still it's kind of like the place that they go, right? And so it was said, allegedly, that this new sheriff was already pretty much in line and elected by Judge Mullins himself, allegedly. And this was before Mullins was pew-pewed. This was before the deposition. The new sheriff, he was being elected. See, if Mickey wasn't running, then they were going to have an election. And all these people were going to have to run in this election, and God only knows who was going to be elected. Well, kind of the same way with the jailer. Our jailer recently retired, and it ended up Mickey was the one that they named over the jail for a couple weeks there until they ended up naming the jailer's brother the new jailer. Well, if they're already in office, then whenever they have this election, if the election's in a month or 2, they might just go ahead and get right back reelected, I mean, usually once they're in there, they're usually in there. They don't usually get kicked back out. So that's a new little piece of information that we've got there. Allegedly, Mullins told the new sheriff to get ready to step up to be sheriff after Mickey goes and does his deposition. It kind of looked from what, and absolutely, this is all speculation, okay? This is just from several sources, some of this information. And it's all alleged. Everything is allegations, of course. But that's what we're hearing through the grapevine. A lot of people
mean that they were going to fire Mickey.
No, they wouldn't have necessarily had to have fired him. I mean, there's all different kinds of ways. He could have resigned.
Well, he wasn't going to resign until he could retire. I thought he was going to serve out his term, and I don't know.
I know, that's what I thought too. He was going to serve out his term, and then whoever got elected next would take over his spot. But, you know, if Mickey was really scared for his life, if he really felt, if he was starting to put some things together, remember when Edison Banks's little girlfriend, or his alleged girlfriend, his home health aide, she was the one that was caught driving his official Commonwealth attorney vehicle loaded down with every kind of rug you could think of. And Mickey was the only one that was trying to prosecute that case. You even had attorneys in Pineville that was appointed to it, but they never would do anything. They wouldn't charge her. They wouldn't do nothing. Mickey was the one that sent it off to the lab. He was trying to he got the results of it. He was making phone calls, trying to get people to do their jobs. And it looked like he wasn't getting anywhere with it. D.E. Wright says Mickey was the file guy. They were setting him up. Well, you know, that's a possibility. It is an absolute possibility. We just don't know. So let me get to what I wrote here. All right. Let me go up here to the top of it. So one of the things that I've been hollering about is, how can this all not be at least investigated as human trafficking? You've got bodies that are being arrested, taken to jail, let out on a house arrest program that keeps them tracked. They have to check in and get permission to go anywhere and everywhere. They're being proposed to, the way that Jennifer Hill explained in her deposition was she was just getting released from jail and Ben propositioned her. And she turned him down and said, no, my husband can pay for my ankle monitor. Thank you very much. And she says she ended up back in jail because she said no, because she turned him down. And she ended up having to go ahead and go through with it later on because she knew a year earlier he had put her back in jail for not going along with it. So, and Sabrina, when the attorney general asks her in her interview how she knew you know, and he, of course, was trying to make it seem like she was hitting on him, like she was the one that was coming on to him, like she was the one that had somehow corrupted him. No, thank you. I do not like the way that investigation went down at all. But so when they asked Sabrina, she says, well, I heard the rumors. Well, the rumors don't get started unless it's happening to other women. A former employee of the jail contacted me, over a month ago? I told y'all about that. Said that it was from a previous jailer administration. A couple previous's. I don't know how many previous's, but previous. One of the administration. So he starts working there as a guard. And that day he ends up having to do laundry. And so he takes one of the female inmates and the female's laundry up to the laundry room, wherever it was at. I don't know. And he said he waited there while she did her thing, got the laundry all done, whatever she had to do with it. And he said she walked right over to him and dropped her drawers down to her ankles and bent over. And he flipped out and was like, "What are you doing?" And he freaked out and she was like, "What? This is the laundry detail." And he said, "Oh, hell no, it ain't. Not with me, it ain't." And I said, "Well, did you ever tell anybody?" And he said, no. He said, "I didn't know who knew and who didn't." He said, "Obviously, somebody knew." He said, "I was afraid of losing my job." But you know what? They don't really make that much down there. So it ain't about money. You got to remember, they could probably go to the gas station and make more hourly pay than they do at the jail. So what is the draw? What is the draw that keeps these people? And did they have a policy about fraternization between employees? But no, obviously they didn't, because even their other deputy, Eccles, I reckon that's how him and his wife met. They were both employees at the jail. I was told this morning one of the deputies had narcolepsy and would fall asleep at 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you just cannot make this stuff up, y'all. You cannot make this stuff up. And so you subject these women that have been arrested for some kind of a rug charge. And it wasn't just Mullins's court. Now, I like the other judge really well. He's always been really nice to me. I've never heard, not the first word, of him having any kind of sexual misconduct. I've never heard that about the other judge. But it was his court that had the drug court. And that's who Ben's sister is over, that drug court program. That's whose court Ben swore out the false escape warrant in. It's also the judge and one of his rug court workers, who Mickey says came over to his office that day and said, "We're sorry. We didn't tell you about the Ben stuff. We knew about it," and allegedly said, "We knew about it and we didn't tell you." Man, it just gets worse and worse and worse, you all. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Okay. So for months now, we have all heard claims that powerful men in Letcher County were exploiting vulnerable women in the court system. Investigators say that they have never found the proof. Let me. Okay. For months, we've heard whispers of corruption in Letcher County, sex trafficking, corruption, and cover-ups. The state shut it all down, saying there was no proof. But tonight, I have something they claimed did not exist. Video evidence of a man at the center of this whole thing engaging in sexually inappropriate behavior. And I'm going to tell you exactly why this matters. This is somebody who worked side by side with Kevin Mullins. And Mickey Stines. And I don't want to go into no more identifiable info. But I have the video proof tying this person to the pattern of misconduct that apparently the authorities ignored. I just have to be very careful. We can't show it on the channel. I will not show it on the channel. I don't know if there's any place. I'm not going to show it, period. We are investigating as a whole. The true crime community is investigating this case. It appears right along with everybody else. Now, the things that I have heard that have come, that have been told by police in the know, say that they ain't found nothing. Allegedly, they've not found a thing. That it all looks like mental illness. And Mickey's not told nothing. He's not said anything. He didn't speak in those dash cams. He didn't tell them anything. They were asking him. They kept asking him. Mickey knew. He knew not to say nothing. His lawyers, just imagine. You know, well, I mean, we don't know. All we can do is speculate. I don't think we'll ever really know the truth unless somebody comes out and tells it. Unless Mickey comes out and tells it. You know. It's, D.E. Wright says they saved Ben Fields, but were setting up Mickey so they could hide their evil deeds. Well, you know, it looked like everything was going away on the criminal side of things when they got the plea bargain from the deputy. Well, I don't think, I mean, Ned Pillersdorf has said it several times. They turned that courthouse into a brothel. But there was only Mickey Stines, Ben Field, and the ankle monitor company that were named in that suit. Well, if the DOC was the ones that were in charge of that courthouse, why weren't they added? I'm no lawyer. Absolutely none. I know nothing about it. Legal stuff. I'm not a lawyer at all, so I don't know. But why wouldn't, and it was Judge Mullins's chambers where allegedly this was taking place. Well, not allegedly, he pled guilty to it. So I just have a curiosity. Why? Makes no sense to me. Why they were the only ones that were named in that civil lawsuit. And we don't have depositions on like where they were released to. The depositions were released as public record. But there's not a deposition for Patty that I can find. And she would have had to have been. Somebody else reached out to me and said that they looked to see if Daniel Dotson was if he had put in a letter of appearance or something like that. I don't know anything about it. But they said, if I remember correctly, she said that they usually have to enter on the record or something that they are representing somebody, and that they looked and they couldn't find it. Now, I don't know if it's a civil case. I do not know anything about law, so I don't know anything about that. But they couldn't find on the record, wherever they looked, they couldn't find a record of Daniel Dotson entering an appearance, whatever, on Mickey's behalf. And I said that in on court TV that I thought it was just interesting that Daniel showed up that day that Mickey spoke and actually gave his deposition, but he never did show up which, I mean, of course he could have just read the transcripts, I'm sure. But I don't know. I just found that odd. Ned kind of rolled his eyes at me, but that's okay. I don't know anything about it. I don't know these kinds of things, so I don't know. But I do know that they're all buddies and they're all friends. And if Mickey was so scared that he was gonna say the wrong thing, or that he possibly already had said the wrong thing, would he fear what he said? Because it kind of looked like Mickey shut up after Mickey said something in that deposition, and it looked like immediately right after that he turned, I don't recall, and he didn't recall another thing after that. So it made me kind of wonder if he thought he had said something that he shouldn't have said. And then the next 3 days, not be able to sleep. He obviously had a whole lot more knowledge and stuff than we do. Are you leaving, Mommy?
Yeah, I'm tired.
Okay, well, you have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow, okay?
All righty, girl. All righty.
I love you, honey.
Love you.
Bye. So, there we have it, y'all. Thank you. It's all very, very frustrating. It's all very, very upsetting. It's very upsetting because these women are in vulnerable positions. And it's not just the women. I think it looks to me like this was more, when the coal mine shut down and we had such a bad addiction problem in this area, it looks to me like a whole bunch of in the know people took advantage of a situation. They saw a bunch of loopholes. They saw a bunch of connections. They saw a bunch of buddies, and they saw a way to make a lot of money. They were seeing Medicaid pay for a ton of this stuff. We saw this year that Kentucky is getting $900 million for the MAT programs. Who do you think's going to get all that money? Who do you think's going to get those contracts? Who do you think is going to get that whole I don't even know what to call it. Kind of lost for words. Let's see. Truth and transparency. I've had a bunch of people email me with proof of them getting. It's all about the money. I think the SMEC stuff was just an added benefit. You had a whole lot of people who should have been doing the right thing when nobody was looking, but it looks like you had a lot of people that were doing the wrong thing when nobody was looking. And they figured out how to perfect it, and they figured out how all of them could enrich themselves. It wasn't just in one area. You got doctors, you got counselors, you've got lawyers, you've got judges, you've got program leaders and heads. You've got nonprofit groups. You've got for-profit groups. You've got treatment centers. And you got police departments and other law enforcement agencies. And all we have to do is look back at the history of the cases. Thank you, LS. All you have to do is look back at the cases of the editors pay, these ediphiles, pedos that we've had charged by their court system. It's their prosecutors, it's their police that are charging, it's their grand jury that's indicting these people. How come they're getting off so scot-free with their sentencing? You've got recommended lenient sentences for people who, as we learned with a guilty plea, you have to get up in front of the judge and everybody in that courtroom, and you have to take ownership, and you have to admit your guilt for a guilty plea. It's not a no contest plea. A no contest, you can do that. You can say, I'm not admitting guilt. I'm not saying I did it. I'm not saying I didn't do it. All I'm saying is that you got enough evidence to probably convict me in court. Or at least that's how I understand it. So they're dismissing these charges for these people. And these are their buddies. Remember, one of them was Judge Mullins's college roommate. You had another big buddy that was their friend that they all went to school with, who was a pharmacist at one time. And he ended up getting really, really, really bad on drugs and lost everything, his license, everything. There's a whole lot of very well-known secrets that I think everybody just wants you to keep your mouth shut about and just go on. Just don't say nothing. Just don't say nothing. Like, what I say, we had a certain official, in their 70s, ended up allegedly having an affair with an intern in their office, a young intern. And then the wife ends up finding out about it. Well, she divorces him. Well, he just marries that new little old thing that he's got grandchildren older than. And the next thing you know, everybody's just completely forgot about how we got here. Nobody even talks about it. It's all over. It's all done. It's all water under the bridge. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. How dare you talk about that? Well, I mean, you have to look at the history. If there's a pattern in some things, heck no, they ain't nobody faced any other kinds of there ain't nobody faced nothing but Ben Fields. And what did he face? 6 months in jail in his own house that him and his wife both worked at for years and years and years. Remember, Mickey said that he had been there, 10 years? He was made a trustee the week after he went in. And I can tell you why it was a week, because it takes a week to get that approved. He was a state inmate. He wasn't a county inmate. So it had to be approved. That's why it took a week. Or it looks to me like it anyway. Because if they would have been able to make him a trustee that day, I think they would have done it. And I was told by our jailer at the time that was all his decision, that he owned that decision. He was the one that made him trustee, and that he served his time, and he did everything that he was asked to do. He did everything. Good dude. That's what Mickey said too. Mickey told the ankle monitor company, according to his deposition, that Ben was a good dude. Mickey told Danny Webb, he's a good dude. You ought to hire him. All these good dudes I just don't know about, y'all. Because if all these good dudes want to be taking these kinds of nasty videos and pictures of themselves, and they're not scared one bit, and I'm just going to say that in general, anybody who takes these kinds of videos and puts their big mug right up on it, I mean, I didn't think that it was very bright of old Ben to speak to the investigators without an attorney. Was that a strategy? I mean, surely to God, he knew to get an attorney and not speak unless it was a plan. I mean, we're just speculating, of course, but whatever, truth and transparency, honey. I'm glad you're here. You've got the good questions, because I've got so much going on up in here, y'all. I can't remember it all. I mean, it's unbelievable. Whatever happened to the girl that was young and living with Banks and got in trouble with his SUV? Well, she got his power. She had power of attorney over him when he passed away and his estate. So from what I understand, she moved right on into his house. Before he passed away, I was told that he kicked out his mommy, kicked out anybody that was living with him to move her in. I was told his family was completely against it, allegedly. But he allegedly did not put up any fights. He put them all right on out, moved her right on in, And she is still living in his place, and she is fighting for his estate, allegedly, because she had power of attorney. So, and nothing has ever been released about any kind of charges pending, anything like that. I mean, I'm like shaken. I'm so upset over it all. It upsets me to no end that other people knew about this. You know, if we were hearing rumors about the judge's chambers for years and years and years, I've heard about it ever since I've lived here. And I've been here over 10 years. So if those rumors have been going around for that long, you know this stuff's been going on for a lot longer than that. It's all crazy. Susie Q, didn't they go buy Ben a new mattress when he started doing his time? That's what I was told. He got him a new mattress, got him a new big TV. His door wasn't ever locked, but apparently none of the trustees ever had doors that were locked. And from what I understand, anytime his family would want to come see him, I was told his wife was allowed to go right on in his cell and lay down with him if she wanted to. And that come from a former employee of the jail. And it wasn't one that fell out with the jailer either. So it wasn't like they had something against him, the jailer or anybody working there, other than they thought what was going on was a big bunch of crap too, but they just couldn't say nothing. Yeah, Banks has kids. I saw a picture. I've got it somewhere. When Banks was given some kind of an award, he was given Prosecutor of the Year award, y'all, at one point in time. And he's got 2 daughters and his wife standing there with him in that picture. So I don't know when they got divorced. I don't know. And his daughters were all older. They were adults. But still, his entire estate, from what I understand, the power of attorney went to that girl. And, Banks wasn't no young spring chicken neither. She was. Said he didn't know she had a problem, that she was recommended to him. He got her out of all of her trouble. She never got in no trouble. All of these pedos getting sweet sentences. Ben Fields only served 6 months. And remember, we've got a dead victim. One of his victims ended up keeping count, and that's what he pled to. But the other victim ended up unalived, supposedly by some kind of an OD. Well, guess who else ended up that way? So right after this happened, right after the pew-pew at the courthouse happened, some boy came out on TikTok and said that his ex-girlfriend supposedly had a child by somebody down there at the courthouse. He told a whole bunch of stuff that he used to take her down there and she'd go in and he'd write her a $2,500 check, or, he told all kinds of stuff. Well, I didn't follow TikTok. I'm not much of a TikToker as well as a lot of people are, but so I didn't follow it a lot, and I was busy trying to get this my YouTube up and going. Well, somebody sent me a message or an email the other day and said, guess who passed away? Well, apparently that boy who came out with all that dirt passed away. He was in recovery. And so I went back through his TikTok to look for that video that I had seen him do right after this happened. And I was going to play it for y'all. Well, the original video that he put up was gone, but he had redone it and told it in a much more, I guess, accepted way. Is the best way to say it. He, in the first video, he wasn't really being very complimentary, but in the second one, the one that he put up to replace it, or at least that's how I thought he did. I don't know if he did or not, but I when I went back, I couldn't find the one that I'd originally saw. And then there was this one. This was the only other one that he had talked about it. And then in this new one that he had put up, but it was old, it wasn't new from like right now. It was then. He was very complimentary of Judge Mullins. In some ways, saying that he, had done a lot for people in addiction in this area, and that he was a good dude. And then he talked about Mickey and said that Mickey had done a lot of good for people in this area and that he was a good dude. But, there was this other side to these monsters that nobody knew. Like he talked out of both sides of his mouth on that video. He told it, but he also in the next breath said, but these are good dudes. They did a lot of good in our community, because I think maybe he got scared. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But he got a lot of flack, I'd say. And I'd say he got kind of scared for what he had said, because remember, at that time, nobody was saying anything. Them depositions hadn't come out yet. Nobody really knew anything except for the initial rumors about Mickey's daughter and all that. And that is what I think the preacher man was addressing in his video, the one that he took down. So there's just so much. Anyway, so he ended up passing away. He was in recovery. I watched a whole bunch of these videos for a long time. Well, I mean, I didn't like watch them, but I was skimming through his collection of videos, and he had gotten his TikTok monetized and everything. He really kind of took off after he had done from the Letcher County stuff. He was a tattoo artist. And I watched a couple, and so he looked like he was sober through a whole bunch of those. Then towards the end, the last few he done, you could tell he was a kite. Flying high, honey. Flying high. And then the next thing you know, he's gone. So, and then you've got all of these red rums, these unsolved red rums that have happened in this county. Could Mickey have really found something out? I mean, I don't know. But it seems a little bit more of a possibility now. I don't know. But there have been a whole lot of young people who have passed away. I've had lots of families reach out to me and send me their children's pictures and tell me their stories of addiction, and they're not here no more. So you just, I don't know how we're going to go forward, but we have to all go forward as a community. We all have to go forward as a community, and we have to rid our county of these predators, because that's exactly what they are when they feed off of people's, vulnerable situations, and when they enrich themselves off of the misery and unfortunate situations of others. Greed sure has an ugly face. The boy's name who passed away. Does anybody know it? Anybody know what that boy's name was? I think it was an email. Let's see. I can't think of his name. But he was a tattoo artist. That's all I can remember now. Eric Cantrell. Thank you, Louie. Eric Cantrell. That was his name. I could probably go find his TikTok channel and link it in the description, maybe. But his TikTok has like tattoo, like you'll see that he was a tattoo artist. Thank you, Miss Amanda. We're all kind of scared. My own friends, my very, very best of friends, they're scared to even put a like on my stuff. Some of them. Now, some of the others shout it from the rooftops, but some of my friends who are fancy pants friends who work in the school system and stuff like that, now they'll talk to me every day, but they're terrified, and they watch the show every night, but they're terrified to say anything about it. And that's the way a whole lot of people are around here. People are scared. People are afraid. But then you've got another whole group of people who have been screaming this stuff from the rooftops. But, when people who have come forward start dropping, it might get a little scary. A little bit more scary. Because you don't know. You just don't know. But I'm gonna be working with Gavin on this. I'm gonna work with Gavin on putting together an article or some piece of journalism. Hopefully. We're going to work on it. Louis says, Eric Cantrell was a good ball player for the Pirates. My son played for Pike. That's awesome. I did not know that. But, that's how a lot of people of his generation and my generation, I don't know how much younger than me he was, but my generation was just decimated by it. But all of the athletes, well, maybe not all, but a whole lot of the athletes that were really good in school, they were the ones that ended up like the preacher. The preacher was a big athlete in Little League, and I'm sure he played for middle school. And I'm sure he played high school. I had moved away for a little bit during high school, so I don't remember how he did in high school, but a lot of those people who ended up in rug court over in Cumberland at that time, they were a lot of athletes. Elizabeth, what do you mean when you say the community needs to rid itself of these predators? Well, I mean, we need to vote them out of office. Maybe know who is running our county. You got a whole lot of people who are in very high positions in this county that, I mean, look like they're protecting and serving the Redditors. What about the victims? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I'm not worried. The only time I ever get scared is when a police officer gets behind me. But, I don't have nothing to hide. Like, I don't drink, so you're not going to find me at the bar. I'm not going to be driving DWI through town nowhere. I mean, there's certain things you put yourself at risk. Your own behavior puts yourself at risk. And then the consequences of those risks sometimes aren't fair, sometimes suck, but, and I've done paid mine. I've done went through, I'm almost 50 years old. I've done had my wild oats. I sowed my wild oats too. I'm no better than anybody else. I've had my own troubles too. We all have. Think about how many young kids nowadays are self-harming stuff because somebody on the internet talked them into sending some kind of a picture or video or something of themselves in not such a great way. There are so many people that communicate that way. I know you guys have heard of phone schmecks, back in the day before we had video calls, we're old. People did that kind of stuff. I mean, you hear of it. And I'm not judging nobody. I'm not trying to pick on nobody or nothing like that. But, when you run for an elected office, I don't think you ought to be doing stuff like that. I don't think you ought to be sending stuff like that to people. If you are hired in a position, like Ben, if you're working as an employee of a jail, or if you're working as a supervising people on house arrest, maybe you shouldn't sleep with them. Maybe you shouldn't make propositions to them that you can, help them out if they can't pay for it. And you're betting that they're not going to be able to pay for it. And even when they tell you no, then you throw them in jail. Yeah, I think that there's a policy against those kinds of things. And I think it's kind of common sense not to be doing those things. Thank you, Joe Schmo. Those were called 9-800 numbers. And how many family members would go to their grandmas or their aunts or their cousins or something and get on the phone and dial them 900 numbers? How many family members did you have that had a $900 phone bill? because of some dumb family member you had that called 900 numbers all month. I've heard a lot of them stories over the time, you know. But now everybody's got a cell phone. Now everybody's got a camera. I mean, listen, I'm glad they didn't have social media and cameras and phones and stuff when I was doing stupid stuff. I'm so thankful. I'd be in so much trouble. I'm sure. They ain't none of us saints. They ain't none of us innocent, you know, of everything. But, you know, these kinds of things are kind of, you know, you can't really shame us and tell us to shut up about this stuff. You know, I know another little girl who has been hollering this from the rafters about the same person that's on the video I saw. Now, nothing's ever came of it. Nothing's ever came of it. But there have been other people who have made these claims and who have tried to come forward. So, who does that fall on? Who's it fall on? Whose responsibility is this? Whose accountability? Who's the one that dropped the ball? I think there's a lot of balls dropped here. Oh, yeah. And I think it's all about money. So they arrest them, they put them in jail, put them on house arrest, then send them to a 30-day rehab. And then you've got this bunch over here contracted with the jail to treat them and, you know, and then charge Medicaid every which way but Sunday for your peer support specialist, for your counseling. You know, used to, they got you with cash. They wouldn't charge insurance. Back in the day, you had to have $400 cash every month, and you had to go to so many counselings every week, every month. And if you didn't have, it didn't matter what insurance you had. If you didn't have $400 cash, you were not getting your medicine. You were not seeing that doctor. Those clinics popped up left and right everywhere. Why? Because they didn't have they didn't have it set up in a way that was to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. It's 3 very important words: waste, fraud, and abuse. And they happen in almost every industry. There was a big lawsuit with a company in Pikeville several years ago, and they sued Eugene Cisco. I think he was like the 3rd or something like that. He had opened a clinic, and they ended up filing like a class action lawsuit against them because they were overcharging or whatever they were doing, but they got in trouble. And the guy that got in trouble, I think he got like prison time over it. It was a criminal case. But that was impactful. And then they ended up putting a whole bunch of regulations on it. And then all of a sudden you started seeing them take everybody's insurance for the counseling. So they started taking the insurance for the counseling, but you still had to pay. It was a cash business. These companies in this area were making the bank from every single patient, and they had the line was around the building, around the block, behind the courthouse. They had one right in Whitesburg behind the courthouse, and it was such a small little place. They'd go in, take their medicine in, and the little lady at the front desk would count your medicine, and then she'd give it back to you and make sure that your count was right. Well, she was allegedly slipping people's meds. So she'd count this person allegedly, and then whenever they counted it themselves again, I mean, you wouldn't think that you'd have to go back behind this lady and recount your medicine right after she counted it. But people's medicine was missing after they were getting it back. But they weren't noticing it right then because they weren't counting it behind her. Well, people started missing their medicine. Well, she eventually ended up getting fired. And then they ended up putting in cameras in the clinic up in the window in the lobby so they could start watching because they couldn't even, trust their own staff. Listen, I've been in this since the get-go, so I know absolutely every step of the way. It was miserable. A whole lot of people didn't have the money to be able to afford it. All right, guys, we've been on here 2 hours. I'm going to jump off. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank you to everybody who helped us out this evening. Beagle Mom, thank you, sweetheart. Buddha Belly, we love it when you're here. Adventures of Pete and more. Lynette Eads. DB, my friend Ange from R&M Productions is a huge fan. It's almost her birthday. Will you give her a shout out? I sure will. Happy birthday, Miss Ange. R&M Productions. Thank you. Happy birthday. Have a great birthday. DB gifted 10 Hillbilly Crime memberships. If you got one, please reach out and say thank you. Amanda, thank you. Tam Dam, member for a month. Great job covering this case. It's getting crazy. It is. We got more too, y'all. It's just, I've been on here for 2 hours and I'm tired. It's 11 o'clock and we got school tomorrow, so. Single mom drama strikes again. All right. LS, thank you, sweetheart, for your super sticker. All right, guys. Will y'all stay blessed, stay warm, stay strong, and we'll see you tomorrow. Come be with us in the morning. We are streaming the Todd Mullis bench trial. And I think they gave closing arguments and stuff on it today. So we're probably done with that one, actually. But we're going to be picking a new one. I want to watch the Adelson. So I think that's what we're going to start with tomorrow, if that's all right with everybody. We will watch the Donna Adelson hearing that she had, where she gets up and testifies on why she ought to be given bond. It's going to be very entertaining. All right, you guys. Have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.